Well, from what I've uh, heard and what you can look up and read in Black's Law Dictionary, the revised 4th edition. These courts for tickets and traffic fines are administrative courts. And all these states, it's a state administrative court. And all these state so-called law enforcers are not law enforcers. They're not federal law enforcers. Federal law enforcers enforces federal law of the United States government. They're U.S. federal law enforcers. State administrative law enforcers don't enforce laws. They enforce policies, administrative regulations, edicts, rules, ordinances, mandates, regulations, if I didn't say regulations, the policies. That's all they enforce. Police is from the word policy. Just take off the Y, put an E. You have police. For policies, enforcers. They're administrative, state administrative, policy, and regulations enforcers. They don't enforce federal law. That's why everybody's like, the Constitution. You swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. But they're not constitutional law enforcers. Federal law enforcers are. Because they work for the federal government that has one law of the land, the U.S. Constitution. That's why you go to them and you complain to them that these administrative court enforcers, they're corporate enforcers. They enforce corporate policies, corporate rules, corporate regulations, or edicts, ordinances, mandates. Those are all made by corporations. Those words are nowhere to be found in the U.S. Constitution. Because the Constitution is law. And they're the federal enforcers of the United States Federal Corporation. But it's a corporation. And that's what they enforce. Corporate rules, regulations, policies, edicts, ordinances, mandates. U.S. Marshals of the United States, they enforce federal law above state law. And if the states got things going on that's going against federal law, our federal law, the federal laws that protects us from them, and they're just allowing it because you ain't complaining to them, they're breaking their laws. Because their law states plain and clear that they're to protect us from anything else that is not of the law of the land. And they're not doing it unless we complain. And everybody needs to start suing them for that. Because their job is to protect our federal rights first. Not these administrative so-called law enforcers. That's just they're just hiding behind something that they're not. They're not law enforcers. They're enforcing what corporations are creating and then saying is law. Texas, the state of Texas is a corporation. It's not even a law-making establishment. Congress is. Congress makes all the laws. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. All of the laws to be made is to be made by Congress, not the states. So they brought back state-sanctioned slavery under the rich of corporations. Because that's who owned slaves back in the day, was the rich on the plantations that were corporations. state of X is a corporate plantation. Texas, state of Texas, state of Louisiana, state of California, everybody's on a separate plantation. They all make their own rules, policies, regulations, ordinances, and then say it's law when it's not. The law of the land, look it up. What is law of the land? Is corporate rules, regulations, and all this law of the land, part of law of the land. It'll say no. So in my opinion, everybody needs to start suing the U.S. Marshals and the FBI, the federal lawmaker or law enforcers, because they're not doing their job. They shouldn't be waiting for us to make complaints, criminal complaints against these corporate rule enforcers, policy enforcers, to stop them from violating our rights. And they still let them. We go to court, all these cases dismissed, and they won't stop what they're doing. All this money given out in lawsuits because they're violating people's rights. If it wasn't true, if those were actual laws, the lawsuits wouldn't be able to be brought about and work against them when you sue them for violating your rights. These frauditors can't understand this stuff. So they just revert back to the mentality that they have of enjoying people being treated as slaves. Administrative court policy enforcers are state-sanctioned slave handlers. They are enforcing corporate crap. Administrative agencies are not law agencies. Now flies want to come over here and bug me while I'm trying to do a video. But that's what they are. They're administrative policy enforcers. Black's Law Dictionary, revised 4th edition, tells you what administration is, what administratives are. We're in hell. That word hell is in there. What money is. What that note is. Nobody's being paid money. You're not getting actual money when you get paid. You're given a debt. You're in debt with your labor when you work for these corporations out here. They're all corporations. McDonald's, Wendy's, Taco Bell, the fancy restaurants, Roadhouse and all that. And who do they call when they need protection? Administrative law, policy enforcers, rules enforcers, to enforce the policies and rules and edicts and ordinances and regulations and mandates of corporations. If they were actual law enforcers, they would say it on their peace officer certificate. They're just to keep the peace. And they're supposed to be peacemakers. Not out there wreaking havoc, being violent, walking up to people and getting violent. People's like, I'm not doing anything wrong. What are you doing? They're treating you like a slave. I'm going to walk up to you. You ain't doing anything wrong. You're not breaking any real federal law of the land. And I'm going to walk up to you like a slave handler would to a slave and make sure you're like you're supposed to be with the corporations, the corporate state, an administrative state. All states are administrative corporations. That's why these courts for fines and stuff exist. And writing tickets and fines for corporations. DMV is a corporation. DPS is a corporation. Jails and prisons are corporations. They make money off of you, your body, and your time being in them. And they're forcing you to work for them, which is involuntary servitude. And it's illegal for them to get violent with you to make you work. It's illegal. So, that's what they are. They're not federal law enforcers. They don't enforce federal laws, law of the land. They enforce administrative corporate BS. It's unconstitutional. The Constitution does not allow law enforcers to enforce the rules and policies and regulations and mandates and edicts and ordinances of corporations. They're to only enforce the law of the land as their oath states. The laws, not the policies, not the regulations, all the laws of the constitutions and the states therein. Laws, not policies, rules, regulations. Nothing in the law of the land says policies, regulations, rules, edicts, ordinances, and mandates are to be seen and enforced as law also. Corporate crap is not law. You can disobey them. They can't do anything. So they're giving corporations the right to control us as if they are lawmakers too. They can't make law. Their rules, their policies and all that they create is not law. They're not lawmakers. That's what you all don't understand. Their policies of a corporation and rules is not law. Unless there's a statutory codified law made by Congress that says, plain and clear, corporate policies, regulations, rules, edicts, ordinances, and mandates are also to be seen as and enforced as, or seen and enforced as law. Find it. You find it. All you frauditors is watching me. You find that for me. Where's the statutory codified law that states that corporations can have their policies, rules, and all that seen and enforced as law, federal law, law of the land? You have to put law of the land as if it is part of law of the land. You won't find it. I can bet you whatever bit of money you got, you won't find it. Because their corporate crap is not part of law of the land. They're corporate enforcers. Corporate protectors. That's all police and sheriffs and state troopers are, is corporate protectors. They protect the corporations and help them enslave us under them. Unless we sign a contract with any corporation to do business with those corporations, to go in there, buy their food, buy their products, get insurance, they can't enforce that as law upon us. So, you all take care. Bye, everyone.